This is the Gemini New Moon Outlook for May 26th, 2025. Now we have the moon with the sun in the sign of Gemini. And the depositor of the moon and the sun on this new moon is Mercury, also in its own at 2 degrees Gemini, conjoining both the moon and the sun. So between now, the Gemini new moon, and until the next full moon, it's all about what? It's about communications. And that includes anything connected with third house, whether it's travel, whether it's the internet, whether it is one-on-one communications, negotiations, and so on and so forth. There is a flurry of uh, busyness, if you will, a lot of chatter, a lot of, well, there may even be a little bit of some gossip because with Mercury and the moon and the sun in Gemini, this is very third house favored. And it's also very mental because keep in mind, Gemini is an air sign. And of course, in the coming days, a couple days later, the moon will apply a conjunction to lucky Jupiter. So that is very fortunate indeed. That's very good for news connected with communications, whether it be the internet, whether it be all forms of travel communications. Yes, that does include space travel because we also have a sweet trine to Mercury and the new moon in Gemini to retrograde Pluto in Aquarius. So this is only heightening our discussions about all forms of communication. That can also be AI, it can be technology. Inventions are very well known and a topic of discussion right now. And how these inventions, communications will be of a great source of help to us. So, travel of all kinds, inventions, communications, internet, space, you name it, the communications are going to be the topic of the communications under this sweet Gemini new moon. And what is a real boost is now Neptune and Saturn are in Aries, and that also turns to make a sextile, air and fire in this case with the new moon and Mercury in its own in Gemini. However, Saturn is with Neptune, so that can give us a little bit of some skepticism. There may be a little bit of deception regarding topics that are connected with Aries. And what is Aries? Aries rules the mind. So, although there's great communications, wow, what a flurry of communications right now. Saturn with Neptune gives us this sense of critical thinking and skepticism, not to be deceived by any news that we are hearing right now. This is kind of helping us to be very grounded and suspicious with whatever news comes about now because Aries again rules the mind while Gemini rules communications. So Saturn with Neptune kind of grounds that deceptive active nebulous Neptune connection there, which is very good. Thus, the sextile air and fire with the new moon and Mercury in Gemini. This is actually very positive that we will kind of develop our critical faculties, if you will. And Venus, the planet of love and affection, is yet still in Aries, and this is conjoining the healer Chiron. So, in all of our relations right now, whether that be love relations, family, you name it, Venus with Chiron acts kind of as a healer. It helps us to heal some of the wounds from the past. It helps us to open up discussions with those nearest and dearest regarding our feelings and emotions. But it is an Aries, so we will be a little bit quick to judge, and this could also additionally cause some disagreements. But with Chiron there, this really brings out our emotional sensors. And with Chiron and Venus, this is good. The kind of like Chiron is tempering some of the energy, the Aries energy of Venus right now. And this helps us to be a little bit more sensitive to love and healing and these type themes around us, however that may be. And Uranus is yet still in Taurus, although very soon, over the next year, eventually Uranus is going to skip into the sign of Gemini. And at 27 degrees, even Taurus has somewhat of an airy, detached sense about it, because we are soon going to be going to zero critical Gemini, and this kind of connects with out of sign Mercury in Gemini right now. So that only adds to our sense of creativity, our sense of inventiveness, and the fact that during this time of the new moon until the next full moon, we are going to be very curious about our creativity, our inventiveness, our communications, and this kind of adds a little bit of a touch of genius to whatever is going to be well known here, that will help in the way of communications, however that is, connected with the internet, connected with space, connected with the airways, or even an invention to help us in different ways of communication. This can also deal with cell phones, travel, you name it, and some kind of genius invention or similar will come about during this time. And Mars, the planet of action, is still in the sign of Leo. And with Mars, Mars in Leo likes the show. And with Mars, we don't want to just communicate during this month. We really want to express our individuality. And this is a wonderful trait of Mars in Leo. It's kind of dramatic. It's the need to be number one, the boss, to really express our creativity. So this is good with Mars in Leo. And although Mars will apply a bit of a square off to Uranus as we get into June, right now with Mars in Leo, it really isn't under too much duress. So we're really going to have this sense of liberation and freedom to really express who we are and express our creativity. So right now, while Mars remains in Leo, it's a very good time to express your originality, creativity, the sense, even with Leo, your sense of beauty and who you are individually. So this is very positive indeed. And of course, then the moon over the next day or so will also turn to sextile air and fire Mars. So there could be some good news in the area of the arts, whether that's fine arts or performing arts here as we get into June. This will be very highlighted, this sense of beauty, not just communications. And yeah, this is all forms of art, performing art, literally art, drawing, painting, and this may be hand in hand with whatever kind of inventions or creativity comes about over the month of June, and with lucky Jupiter in Gemini there as well. Uh, there may be developed some really good money making ideas regarding what? Communications. That's the big deal right now, is all these forms of communications and a flurry of it as well with Pluto even retrograde in Aquarius. So there may be a little bit of some issues right now with some slowdown regarding some of these communications, some frustrations with the internet computer, and Pluto is retrograde, although the Gemini new moon and the planets are not. So it does indicate we have to still yet be careful of our communications. And if you are traveling, because Pluto is still retrograde, you do want to make sure all your travel plans are tied up very good, so there are no issues. But also, Pluto at 3 degrees, even retrograde, makes a sweet sextile as well, fire and air, to both Saturn in Aries as well as Neptune. And that kind of acts as a grounding for our communications. And that's good because the overall tone of this chart is much in the way of sextiles, air and fire and air. And that's good. So that kind of sets a precedence for this new moon that we will be all about kind of taking a detached point of view in our communications, not getting overly emotional or combative. It's a time of thinking, of expressing, because that's also Gemini is expression. Yes, it's all forms, little ad there, all forms of communication, but it is about how we express our energy. And this is very good. We're going to use our energy very constructively, very well. We are going to communicate very well during June and not get too wrapped up with drama, which is a plus. So that's the takeaway from this new moon, this Gemini new moon for May 26, 2025, and many, many blessings.